Hello, and welcome back to Wonderland Asylum. We are back today with issue 35 of the Hachette Partworks release of Titanic, the ship, the legend. So, what's in today's magazine? An article about the public and private funerals. It says that more than 1,500 people lost their lives. Of those, the bodies of 1,000 were never recovered. So, has some information about the funerals, the memorial for Wallace Hartley, who of course was the leader of the band, again very well known, documented in most of the films. Although in the 1997 James Cameron release, it was Nearer My God to Thee that was the last song the band played, but witness testimony says that wasn't the case. But it was a nice song to play for the film. And talking about children on board, there's a child playing with an old turn-of-the-century toy. That is 6-year-old Robert Douglas Spedden playing with a spinning top on the promenade deck. He survived the sinking, apparently. Again, love these old style photographs. They seem to endeavour to make everyone look as creepy and haunted as possible. Yep. Wealthy families travelled on Titanic with their nannies in their service, who took care of the young children, while the parents enjoyed all the luxury liner had to offer. See, these days we don't have nannies as such, we have grandparents who look after our children. No, disclaimer, I tend to take my child most places with me. And again, there's a cartoon that appeared in the Cincinnati Post newspaper after the disaster of the man, of course, trumpeting women and children first, and the Titanic as she slipped beneath the waves. Tells you about the facilities for first, second and third class for the children, what life on board was like. Yep. Watch out for shady characters. Fantastic. So yeah, an important warning which revealed one of the many undersides of the glittering life during the Belle Epoque was, gamblers. For example, if you've played Titanic Adventure Out of Time, I've alluded to this game a couple of times, but if you've played it, you encounter a card sharp by the name of Buick Riviera. And that's basically what this was alluding to, was the characters who, they would go aboard luxury liners and try and scam people out of a little bit of coin, so to speak. And then next we're on to the instructions. So, let's see what's in today's box. Okay, so in the box today we have some gears, we have CP screws, we have some axles, we have some more gears, and we have a little pocket full of grease, which is very handy, and we even have a cotton bud to apply the grease with. So again, I will recommend that we grease up everything that's here. Here we have the gearbox housing. And here we have the lid that goes on the other side. And finally, wrapped up nicely in this bit of cardboard, we have the rods that go basically from the gearbox to the engines and go into those green pulleys. So, fantastic. So this one shouldn't take too long. Let's see what we're doing first. So the first thing we need is these 4 gears here. I don't need them just now. Don't need any of this. It's the 4 flat gears that we need first. And the part we need is this part here. So if we get the gears out, we don't need the 2 smaller gears just now, and we need the 4 gear axles. Now fortunately, as I say, this has been quite well made, so as you can see there's a backing on it, so there's no risk of the axles falling out, which is good, because that was a problem with the gearboxes on Bismarck, was that the axles kept falling out. In fact, the rear radar on Bismarck, there was a bit of a design flaw with one of the axles not being long enough, which resulted in it not turning very well, which we had to fix. But anyway, so the first axle goes in here. The next one goes in here. Then the third one, if I can actually pick it up, which would be helpful, goes in here. And the final one, again, if I can pick it up, goes in here. And now what we do is we take these gears, it doesn't matter which way around we put them because they're the same on both sides, and they slip over these spindles. Now the 2 on this side should mesh perfectly, and you can see they do very nicely. The 2 on this side, however, I believe do not. Yeah, there's a small gap in there between those 2. There is a reason for that. Okay, then next we're getting the 3 drive gears. They're the ones that the axles connect to. Now the 3 of these are all the same. There is one thinner one, but we don't need it just now. And these 3 gears, again, one goes in here. They go into the bigger holes on the sides, like this. So they go in like that. As you can see, that one there only turns that one gear. This one turns all of them very nicely. And then finally, this small gear goes in there, just like that. Perfect. And now the instruction is to open up your sachet of gunk, which I'll be honest, does look a little bit dodgy, but you know, so get a good wadding of it. We don't need to save this for anything else, so no need to be sparing with it. So what we do want to make sure is that all these gears are nicely lubricated, because the better you lubricate them, obviously the more longevity the gearbox itself is going to have, and more importantly for anyone who's built the Bismarck one, the less noise you're going to have when it operates, because some of the systems on Bismarck, it's made a wee bit of a difference. I don't know if you can hear, but yeah, that's good. Awesome. But yeah, for those of you who built Bismarck, you'll know, or watched my Bismarck review video, you'll know what I'm talking about. Some of the gear mechanisms were, the noise that came off of them. But yep, so that's that all done. And then the final parts we need is this tiny little gear, which goes in here and links all the top gears together. And again, just dab a little bit of the lube onto it. There we go. And now you can see that slot there. Oh no. I don't know if you noticed, but I was careful to put quite a bit of the lubricant into that slot, because essentially the other small gear is going into that little slot. And the reason it fits into a slot, I will show you momentarily when I put it in, is so that when the gears turn one way, it'll be pulled away from that central gear, and then when they turn the other way, it'll move back along and it'll turn that central one, because the central propeller only spun when the engine was in forward gear. So when you're reversing, you can see there that smaller gear moves away from the central one. It's very clever. And then when you turn it the other direction, so it's going forward, it goes back and engages and starts turning again. Really impressed with that, actually. Very impressed indeed. But it's such a simple way to resolve it. And now what we need is a lot of CP screws to hold it all together. Now again, one of the things with Bismarck was that the gearboxes didn't always go together the most easily, and they didn't always fit properly. So we shall see if they've done any better with this one for Titanic. Now I am told that this is very similar to the gearbox that was used in Ecto 1. I didn't get that far with Ecto 1. I was building it with my little girl, my 6-year-old, and she ran out of patience with it when we started on the interior section. So Ecto 1 was discontinued. Right, so again, line it up. You want to make sure all the gears line up with the holes. And oh, that fitted very nicely. You can see just like that. And then we're fitting screws into all the screw holes. Again, I'll start with this middle one. And they are self-tapping plastic screws, so you don't need to over tighten it. And again, bear in mind it's a gearbox, so you want it tight enough that it holds together, but not too tight that it's going to bind the gears up or anything. There we go. And when I'm screwing things in, I do tend to alternate where I'm putting the screws in, so you don't end up with one side at full tightness and the other side hasn't even started yet. These end ones are a bit funky, but that's it in now. So yeah, as I say, before I built Partworks, I worked on cars. So, and it's one thing you learn when you're working on your car is crisscross star pattern when you're attaching bolts. It's to do with distributing the compressing forces. Again, this part goes in here, just like that. Very nice. 2 to go. As I say, this is a very, very short issue, so I may try and get issue 36 done today as well. Time depending. Okay, so that's that all been assembled, all the screws are in. Now if you look, again, these are what will control the propellers. So if I take the gear rod and put it in, where it's going to go, when I turn it in this direction, the middle gear doesn't move, so that's in reverse gear, and when I turn it in forward gear, the middle one turns too. Absolutely perfect, and that is the gearbox. And that, believe it or not, is issue 35 all done. So that's us done and dusted for issue 35. What's coming in issue 36? Well, an extension to the engine room, plus all the big turbines, and a load of screws. So more pipe work, more engine work, but by and large, with a couple of small exceptions, that's the engine room complete, certainly in terms of appearance. We've still got the motors and everything to fit, in issue 37 and 38. But yeah, issue 36 more or less ends the assembly. That's when we get to finally fit all the engines to the floor. I've kind of already done that. But yeah, that's when we get to do that properly. So as you can see, that is the gearbox, and I'll show you again. Now that hole there is where the motor will go. So if you put the rod, you can see it has a D-shaped fitting in the end. If you put it in where it goes, if you turn it that way, all 3 propellers turn, so that's it in forward gear, and if you turn it the other way, that's it in reverse gear, and only the outside 2 propellers will turn. So fantastic. You can hear there's next to no noise from that. When you compare that to the gearboxes on Bismarck, that's a big thing. But again, thank you for watching. As always, if you like what you're seeing, drop me a like, leave a comment, and consider subscribing to the channel as well, so you'll be updated when I post new content up. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, peace out.